Life speaks. It speaks through struggles and success, through music and messages, the preconceived and the unexpected. Whether you are in the depths of the valley or in the midst of your mountaintop experience, everyone needs to be encouraged from time to time. Here we will share stories of strength, testimonies of triumph, verses of victory, observations, and information meant to touch the heart and uplift the soul, to keep you on your path of purpose and navigate this thing called life with power and authority. This is Andrea L. Hines, and I'm your host for When Life Speaks, here on ALH Broadcasting, an affiliate of the Streaming Inspirational Broadcast Network. I am glad you accepted the invitation to join us tonight. There's something in this broadcast just for you, and if it is going to be a blessing to your life, it will be to someone else as well. So share, tag, start a watch party, and invite someone you know to join us. Then turn down the volume of life and get ready to receive, so that when life speaks, you'll speak life. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to When Life Speaks. I'm your host, Andrea L. Hines, and guess who's with me tonight? My co-host, Francina Booker. Francina, how you doing tonight, lady?
I'm doing pretty good. No complaints. Thankful still to be amongst the living.
Oh, that's right. I know that's right. Sometimes that's the way you feel. It's just the way you
Yes,
feel.
indeedy.
But I am glad that you are with me tonight. I always enjoy it when you're on the program with me. And we've got an interesting kind of topic tonight. It's not really a senior sidebar, but it is something that I think everybody can get a little bit of something from. We always try to have a show that people will walk away with something that will help to uplift them and encourage them. And tonight is not going to be any different, any different. You know, God's timing, there's Miss Ida. God's timing is so amazing. He always seems to know exactly what we need and exactly when we need it. And Miss Ida was right on time. I tell you, she came in and she shifted all my stuff around. So, one direction. I just said, let me share something with you. And it took me in a whole different trajectory. But before we get started with that, I do want to let everybody know we are busy preparing for April the 29th. I am so excited about that. We're going to have a flyer come up a little bit later so you can see exactly what is going on, but we're getting ready for that, getting prepared for that. And unfortunately, I don't think, Francine, you're not going to be in town that weekend, are you?
The 29th, I will be, but that's my relay for life.
Oh, yes, that's right. That's right. You're going to be doing that. And that's an important thing to do and to be a part of. But tonight, we're going to talk about, and I tell you why I say this is, God is just so amazing, because last week when we did E2, the two pieces that I read, one was about being busy, being busy. And let me see if I can find that little segment. It said, "We're ripping and running all day long, always out of time. But what, but but what have we really accomplished, and what has been on our mind? We think we take time to prioritize, put things in order on our list. Yet we look around at the end of the day at all the things we've missed." And then I read something about divine appointments. Well, I was going in a whole different direction, and Miss Ida sent me
Talk about
her testimony She sent me her testimony, and it had to do with a series of divine appointments that she had. And it was just right on point and right on target with what I had been talking about last week. Now, I appreciate you sending it to me, and I really appreciate you allowing me to read it tonight. But I do want you to know that there's going to come a point when I'm going to have you sitting right in the seat where Francina's sitting, and you can talk and tell us all about it. But the timing was so close and so tight tonight. I didn't want to put you on the spot, but it's coming. I'm letting you know now. It is coming. It is coming. But Francina, you are one that always seems to have divine appointments, and I want to say this: uh, we have to be we got to pay attention sometimes. Sometimes we have divine appointments, and we don't really realize that that's what they are. We don't really realize how God is speaking to us through them, or how he is using us so that he can get a message to somebody else. But tell us about a couple of divine appointments that you have had recently.
Well, it seems like for me, I've been with my phone calls, calling to make doctor's appointments, even to pay a bill on the phone. I've had the opportunity just to, always ask, can I ask you a personal question? And they'll say yes. And I'll start off with, are you over under 40? If they're over 40, my question is, do you do have annual mammograms? And majority of the time I'll hear yes, but I've heard, well, not yet. And I'm like, why? Well, having don't have insurance. So that gives me opportunity, that opens the door for me, gives me opportunity to talk to them, discuss with them, and even maybe give them some information that that I can provide that would maybe get them what they need. But always at the end of the conversation, I always get, I thank you so much for just bringing about awareness. Um, I think that God must have put it in you to for me to answer the phone, for you to be able to talk to me. And then when I get the phone, I thank God. I said, God, because I was calling for one thing, but you had
Right,
something else in mind. It
right.
also happens when I'm in the store. But I want to say something. This morning when you called me, when I called you and we were talking about coming on the show, like I said, I had no clue, no anything. But I did not realize I had a text from a friend with some encouraging, inspiring, inspirational words. And then I had a text for a link that I was to listen to. And listening to both of those, I mean, when I was listening to the CC whinings, I mean, tears was just streaming out of my eyes. Because sometimes we don't know. God knows what's going on, and we might think that everything is okay, or we look at things from a different perspective. But God knows what's going on internally, and so sometimes He got to minister to us through His words to let us know that everything is going to be okay. Because I'm going through some little challenges with my father, and all the time I seem strong, and like I got it together. God is saying, no, you really don't, So sometimes He got to just bring words to let you know, I'm here, you know. You can get through this. Everything is going to be okay. Just trust me. Know that I got you. And so that was good for me. So like I said, but I do want to, when we get opportunity, I want to read the uh the text that my friend had sent me earlier, if it's okay. It's not long. It
Yeah.
just says, good morning. Life is constantly changing and we're always evolving. There's no point trying to control every aspect. Let go and have faith. Enjoy the little things. Think about everything that's happened to you in the past and recognize how things work out in the end. You are alive. Trust in God and be grateful.
Amen.
And so I was like, you know what? Yes. Gotta trust God in everything, regardless of how a situation, circumstances appear or what they look like. Know that, God, He got us. He know what we're going through. So just push, and get out of our way,
Get
not
out of my way. Yeah.
ourselves, you know. and
Mm-hmm.
just push. We may not always get the results that we want, but knowing that we've got out there, we've tried, we've did our best, we didn't allow ourselves to talk ourselves out of it, or make us think, well, I can't do this because I'm going through this. And I say that because of pain, what I've been
Right.
experiencing. And I told myself, I said, well, Francine, I still need to get out there, and walk. Sometimes I may have veered off a little too much, but the point is, I didn't allow it to stop me. And so my thing is, we just got to take it in stride, do a little at a time, and just ask God, okay, give me the strength to get through this, and maybe tell me what I can do,
Yes.
so that
Yes.
I don't sit there and wallow, have a little self pity, or say or talk myself out of doing things that I can do.
That's right. That's right. And that kind of goes along with what Ida's going to share with us tonight. Francina, I want you to do something for me because you do it from time to time. I don't know how to do it quickly. I think you might. But if you could invite some people in,
I,
uh,
I was I was just doing that.
because I don't know. There's something about this one, and there's something about Ida's. Testimony that she shared that I just have a feeling that somebody else needs to
I can
hear
hear.
tonight. So if you would kind of work on that. I
Got you.
know that I have had instances and times when I start doing things. Even earlier this week, I was working on something or working through something, I should say, and I began to put my spin on it. I'll put it that way. I began to put my spin on it. And in the midst of it, God whispered and said, that's not why I showed you that.
Mm.
That's not the reason I showed you that. This is the reason that I showed you that. And the reason that I bring that up is because sometimes we can move too quickly. Sometimes God is talking to us about something, speaking to us about something. And while we are hearing it, we're hearing it with ears that take us to the left. And if you just sit still a little bit longer, God will give you directions that take you to the right.
Mhm. Mhm.
So when we're praying, when we're dialoguing with Him, we always have to be conscious of the fact that, number one, it may take a little bit longer. It may take you sitting still a little bit longer. It may take you staying in His presence a little bit longer. But He redeems the time. Whatever time you think you're going to lose, it's going to be made up in the day some way, somehow, some way, shape, or form. And we have to be, a man of God, great man of God said, be sensitive to the subtle suggestions of the Spirit.
Mhm.
There's sometimes that you may be thinking about something and you may not even consciously realize that you are, but you may be thinking about something, and God will speak to you in a different way. He'll speak to you through a song.
Mhm.
He'll speak to you through a text message. He'll speak to you in many, many different ways. And like for Miss Ida, he spoke to her by putting some people in her path and giving her some encounters that really turned some things around for her. So Miss Ida, we're gonna read for you today. We're gonna be your mouthpieces today. And we're going to take a stab here at reading about this divine appointment you had that took you to a testimony of triumph. So Francine is going to start it off, and then she may comment about the first part of it, and then I'll come back and wind it up with the rest. So you can go ahead, Francine.
Okay. So today, God orchestrated a divine appointment so that I could meet an amputee that drove himself to the center and, with the help of a walker and wheelchair, was able to exercise.
Hold
I
up,
felt
hold up. Let me go. Let me take you back because you've got the last half there. So let me take the first part.
okay.
Okay, so that we'll have it in order.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. She started by saying, I have not been to my senior citizens exercise class since March of 2022. She said 2022 was not very kind to me, but God was still faithful. My rheumatologist was so disappointed. In February, I discussed counseling with my primary doctor. He gave me a list. I never called anyone. I felt as if I could just go back for one day, I would be okay. Well, today was the big day. I got there 15 minutes ahead of time to get a park. There were no spaces. I spent 10 minutes circling before I parked. As I approached the building, I saw a man sitting on this tailgate trying to manipulate his backpack, his walker, and his wheelchair. As I got closer, I could see that he was an amputee. I asked him if I could help. He told me that he had it, but thanks. How many times do we do that? Somebody says, "Can I help?" That no, I got it. I got it. As I got closer, no. I stayed there. And began to tell him what an inspiration he was for me this morning to see him coming out of exercise class. I told him I wanted to be lazy. He laughed and said he wanted to be lazy too. As we talked, a gust of wind came up and the window over his head was coming down. I reached up and caught it before it hit his head. Now, what if she had gone on
Mm-hmm.
when he said he didn't need any help? He said, "Yes, you can hold that for me. If I had gotten a park earlier, I would have missed him. Look at God." I talk myself out of going to exercise all the time. I use pain as an excuse, and I'd rather sit in the house and eat. I am with you, with you, with you. Francina perseveres on that exercise piece, but I am one to put it off as long as I can. So I am with you on that. But God had that set up so that you would be there and could see this man and be able to help him as he was leaving the class. So go ahead, Francina.
So, okay. Today, God orchestrated a divine appointment so that I could meet an amputee that drove himself to the center and, with the help of a walker and wheelchair, was able to exercise.
Mm.
I felt so ashamed, but inspired and determined. I was the last one to get to class as I was signing in. A man in the class I didn't even know set up my chair and equipment, and I started on time with everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
After class, I went to Rose's. Inside, a lady riding a scooter complimented me on my top. In the parking lot, I saw her trying to get her purchases into her SUV. I got out and asked her if I could help. She was not afraid of me because we had chatted inside the store. She said yes and was grateful. She began to tell me how much pain she was in from osteoarthritis that had spread to her spine. Wow. She said she could only sleep in her bed 2 hours at the most. She had to sleep in a chair. She climbed painfully into her SUV. I asked her about the scooter. It belonged to Rose's. I told her that I would drive it back because she couldn't walk that far. As I stayed in the parking lot writing in my journal, another lady passed by limping. She started telling me that she had bone spurs and was tired of being in pain. She said that she hoped that they would soon be gone. I told her that I hoped so too. Elder Hines, I have no right to complain after the divine encounters that God sent me today to remind me that when I think that I have it bad, someone, somewhere has it worse. I am so thankful tonight, and I will be doing better getting out and being active. By the way, when I left class, there were plenty of parking spaces. Uh-huh. What did I tell you? Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you so
Mm-hmm.
much for sharing that, Ida. And it resonated with me when you said March of 2022, because it was March of last year that I found myself in the emergency room and found myself at a place that I never thought I would be in. And that's the little lady with the Ziploc bag with all the medications in it. I said, that's never going to be me. And guess what? There I was with all my little bottles and all my little things, and having to redirect my energy and the things that I was doing. And the exercise piece is very, very hard for me. It's hard for me to get back into that groove and get into that part of, doing what I need to do. I just and like you said, Francina, sometimes you just gotta push. You gotta push and you gotta do it. But you also have to remember that when you are obedient and when things are happening, it's not just for you.
Right.
And if you stay on the path that He is putting you on, you can see things unfold. Now, I'm sure that Ida didn't think about it in the moment that it was happening, in the moment that she saw the amputee or whatever. It wasn't like, ooh, God put this person in front of me so that, I would be able to understand what it's like or whatever. We don't always get it in that moment. It's in moments of reflection that we
Mm-hmm.
look back and say, man,
Mm-hmm.
God had to have done that. He had to have put that person in my path at that time for a reason. And I think I had shared one time before in being in the Walmart, and an altercation had broken out, and I talked to a lady outside, and she wasn't even getting it in at first, but she kept saying, I never come here. I don't ever come to this Walmart, and I don't ever come at this time of day. But when everything was breaking out around her, she said God told her to pray.
Mm-hmm.
And she started to pray, and He said no out loud. And she thought,
Mm-hmm.
everybody in here is going to think I'm crazy if I start walking up these houses praying out loud. But the altercation, it lessened. The chaos began to turn into calm. And sometimes, when we have those feelings that say, why am I here? I'm not usually here at this time, or I'm not usually doing this at this time, or you feel that unction to tell somebody, let me help you,
Mm-hmm.
or you strike up a conversation, which now it's difficult to do because everything is so crazy. People are not where they used to be. They're not in the spaces that they used to be in. And they're people hurting, and they're hurting for a lot of different reasons about a lot of different things. But what do you think, Francine? What do you think will take us or put us on that path of being more sensitive to what we see around us and the people that we encounter? You create an open door because of your passion for cancer, and or cancer research, and that allows you to have an opening statement, if you will, to
Mm-hmm.
begin conversation. But what about that person that does not have that doesn't have that reason, if you will, for sharing a story, whatever that may be. How do we keep ourselves sensitive to what may be a divine appointment?
But what I do is I always want to be open. And although I may start off, I don't always start my story off with cancer because I'm trying to get to know a person. So it may be something that they say or something that they've experienced that will I can connect with, and then I can carry the conversation and just let them know, how I was able to overcome. Not saying that that would be the same for them, but at least to let them know they can look at me and say, "Well, wow, if I didn't know, if you didn't tell me, I didn't never known, that you went through this or whatever." And so I tell people also, you got to be open. You got to be willing to tell people what you're going through. How are you going to know if there's anybody out there that may have information that can help you get through what you're going through if you don't tell? People so afraid of sharing. They don't want people to know their business.
Mm-hmm.
My thing is, this day and age, is so much going on. You know, you can't go through it alone by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
We all need someone that we can talk with, that can help us navigate through, or even provide us with information where we can get resources for what we're going through. But I also believe it's all an approach. How do you approach people? You got to know how to approach. I'm learning more so to always keep a smile on my face, because I've heard people tell me that I was not approachable.
Mm-hmm.
They said you look mean, and I wasn't aware of it. So
Right.
I'm now be more aware of how I look. So, because I never know, somebody may stop me. I had one lady one time follow me in the store, and I didn't know why she was following me. And when I got in line, she got in line behind me, and she said to me, "I don't know what it is about you, but it's something that I see in you, that drew me to you." And so we just got to having a conversation, and you would have thought we known each other. But in the beginning, I was just trying to understand, why is this woman following me? But she was drawn. She seen. I say she seen God in me. She seen my spirit, and it was a welcoming and inviting spirit that drew her to me. That she wanted to get to know me, or get to know what it was. And so I've learned to say, "Is the Jesus in me?" you know.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, that opens me up, and then as I'm opening up, that they open up,
Mm-hmm.
and they're able to share with me, whatever it is they may be going through. Sometimes they may just need somebody to listen.
Mm-hmm.
They may not need, feedback, but just to know that somebody's there that they feel comfortable, that they can talk to. I'm near, because I believe whenever we talk to people, we sow in a seed. We
Right.
may not
Right.
see evidence of it ever, but there will come a time where something they may go through, and they'll be sitting down, and God will bring us back to their remembrance, as well as the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Because they may not need that conversation right there at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So I always try to look for opportunities, to
Look
just
for
share.
opportunities, and I think that that is key. One thing that you said was to be open, to be open, because if people can sense when you are,
Mhm.
when you are, and I think to be open, to be approachable, and to look for those opportunities. Miss Ida, I noticed that throughout your story, throughout your testimony, you were always saying, I asked if I could help. I asked if I could help. With the man in the wheelchair, I asked if I could help. With the woman who had the scooter, you ask if you could take it back for her. Just, I think that when we have a heart for people, the story that you share comes out as a result of that. Not necessarily a prerequisite for that, or something that starts that conversation. But sometimes you can see people, and you make eye contact, and you don't know why, but it doesn't hurt to say hello,
Mhm.
or it doesn't hurt to give them a compliment, or it doesn't hurt to say it'll be okay.
Mhm.
'Cause you can see, particularly shopping,
Yeah.
you can see when people are frustrated, when they're tired, and just a kind word can break that.
Yes.
A way to say, just like Miss Ida said, I ask if I can help. Can I help? And while the person refused the help, they needed the help.
Mhm.
They needed the help, and even in the smallest way, in the slightest way, and it does as much for you as it does for
For
the
them.
person, and you may not even realize that
Mhm.
at the time. But
Mm-hmm.
no, Miss Ida said that she could have ended up in a dark place, and because of what God did in giving her these encounters and these unexpected divine appointments, it shifted her thinking, and in shifted her thinking, it just shifted her just the way that her mindset was. And I think that that's something else that we don't realize. We don't realize the impact that these things that we think are little things
Mm-hmm.
have. And it is very important uh, to be intentional about
Mm-hmm.
that. You know, how many times do you set out and say at the beginning of the day, Lord, let me be a blessing. I want to be a blessing. I want to be a blessing. And you through life, you know, just rushing and going and not stopping and not pausing and not praying
Mm-hmm.
more and not doing any of those things that would allow you to be ready to receive if an opportunity presented itself. So if we want to be that blessing, if you want to be a you out there want to be a Francina and a Miss Ida and help and make yourself open to, then you may have to do something different. You may have to slow down a little bit. You may have
Mm-hmm.
to pause a little bit. You may have to change your I'm not going to say your prayer, but change your conversation
Yes.
with God and say, you know, Father, help me to see, help me to see that divine appointment today,
Mm-hmm.
because I think we have them all the time. I think that we have them all the time because it's not always what you say to somebody. Sometimes it's what people will say to you. It's what people will do for you. You know, I've been in the grocery store and I've been looking for my change, my money, or I'm short or whatever, and somebody will say, "I got that for you. I got you know, I'll take care of that for you. I'll pay for that for you, you know." And it's not because you're looking destitute and you know, grabbing your head going, "Oh, I gotta pay for this. I don't know how I'm gonna pay." It's not that. But God is dealing with all of us in that way. Hopefully. Hopefully. You know.
But you
Go ahead.
know, and I agree with you. But also, what I find, at least with me, when that has happened, sometimes, I say, well, thank you, but I got it. It's okay. Taking away, that's somebody else's blessing. So I had to get in the habit of, okay, Francine, because I'm quick to say, well, I got this, and they'll say, but no, that's good. No, don't take away my blessing. I'm quick to say that to somebody, but
Yeah.
when it comes to being a receiving end, you know, it's like, thank you, but nothing. But I'm learning
Yeah. Yeah.
because again, you know, we go to God and we ask God for different things. We go to Him in prayer, and when He sent it to us, we so busy looking at it, looking for it to come a certain way that
Right.
we miss. And He
Right.
said, "Well, you asked for, I sent it to you, but
I
you
said
said no, thank you. I sent it to you." So sometimes we our perspective, we gotta how we perceive things. We gotta have a different mindset because God can send us what we need any way He chooses to.
that's
It
right.
may not look how we
Right.
think it's supposed to
That's
look, but if we are attentive, and if we got that right mindset, and that something like that comes up, my thing is okay. Yes, thank you. I appreciate that, and
Miss
keep it
Ida said,
moving, and
Miss
keep
Ida said, I want to be a Francina.
no, you don't, Miss Ida. But you know what? Also, I hear them telling me when they do that, they say pay it forward. That
Yeah.
means they've done something for you, pay it forward. You do something for the next person.
And
And
that's
so,
That's exactly what she just said. She said, I have had strangers to pay for my purchases. When I get the chance, I paid it forward. I paid it forward.
yeah,
Absolutely. And Francina, you mentioned something too, because everybody, you know, sometimes we think that we're the only ones going through something, or we're the only ones asking God about a particular thing. but he's dealing with all of us, and he's dealing with each of us on whatever level that needs to be in whatever way that looks like. But I remember when I was not working. I didn't have a job, so things were tight. It was tight, and we were going to have a guest at church. And I think I may have shared this before. We're going to have a guest at church, and I knew that I was going to have to sow a seed, a significant seed, and I knew that, so I was prepared for that. But I was not prepared for how significant that seed was going to be that they called for. And I have been released from condemnation about sowing, because if I don't have it, it's not for me. God is just not talking to me about that. But if I have it and I've put it aside to, buy my favorite whatever, then he's talking for me, and that's a sacrificial seed that I need to sow. Well, I was one of the last people to go up, and the gentleman grabbed my hand and he spoke into my life. And I didn't think about it anymore. I never worry about a seed once I sow it. If I sow it, then it's because God said so, and He knows what I need, and He'll supply. But when I left, somebody put something in my hand and said, "This is for you." And I stuck it in my pocket, told them thank you, stuck it in my pocket. And I didn't think about it anymore. By the time I got home, I was tired and all that, and I just didn't pull it out. And when I got to church the next time, they asked me, did you see what I had given you? Did you check your pocket? And this is when it's good to be honest, because I said, I am so sorry. I did not. I could have told her, oh, yeah, thank you very much. But I didn't do that. I told her, no, I forgot. I'm so sorry. I forgot. And I said, but as soon as I get home, I'm going to check that jacket pocket. And I did. And she had given me the exact amount that I sowed.
Wow.
This is a God thing. She told me later that she said, I don't know what your situation is. And this is about obedience on both ends. She said, I don't know what your situation is, but God said to me, if she moves to sow that seed, you make it good. Now,
Wow.
I had no way of knowing that. I had no way of knowing that. But my obedience and her obedience ended up being a blessing for both of us. For both of us.
Awesome.
And sometimes that's what we need to also keep in mind. There's two O's. We got to be open and we got to be obedient. Even though it may look crazy. And divine appointments usually do. Divine appointments are those things that when you tell people about it, they kind of look at you and go, really? Really?
No.
You sure? You sure that's what they said? You sure that's what they did? But that's the way God works. That's the way that He operates. And that's why it's so important to trust Him. We get that nudging. We get that nudging. And sometimes we pay attention to it and sometimes we don't. But when we do, that divine appointment can become a testimony of triumph. And I thank you so much, Miss Ida. I thank you for sharing that with us. I didn't want to hold it too long tonight. Francine, I thank you for sharing the things that have happened to you. And listeners, I hope that it really gave you something to think about tonight. Because God is always moving on our behalf. He is always looking for ways to bless us. And the ways are there, past the need, past the valley, past the ram in the bush. Everything is not based on something critical that's happening to us all the time. But he will definitely show us who, he will show us when, he will show us where, he will show us how. And to God be all the glory. I
All
tell
the
you
glory.
what, when we are obedient, especially where our children are concerned. Our
Yes.
children are concerned.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
We've got to we've got to do some things differently. I've got some folks on here from the village, and I'm going to send something out, and I can tell you this already. And for those who are listening who want to take part in it, we are always talking about well, I had a conversation with somebody recently, and we were talking about the senseless acts of violence that are going on, and these are topics that I tend to stay away from because we get so much of it on the news and through the news, and I want our programming to always be something that uplifts us and encourages us. But I was thinking about the fact that they were talking about the gun violence and laws, how we can change the laws. And I am one that believes that you can change the laws, and I believe it will help. I think there are some things that we need to do to kind of slow down or delay or do something so that we don't have such easy access to weapons that are way beyond weapons to protect. Um, but in saying that, I said, but evil finds a way. You can take all the guns away, but if someone has evil in their heart, they'll find something else. They'll
Yes,
find another
indeed.
way to hurt. They'll find another way to do that. But my question was, the word says, train up a child, right? Train up a child in the way he should go. When they're old, they won't depart from it. And my question is, how are we training up our children? And I want to know three of the major things that you do in training up a child that will have a positive impact on the rest of their life. Are you teaching them about serving? Are you teaching them to be unselfish? Are you teaching them about the things of God? Are you what kinds of things, what kinds of seed are we planting so that when they encounter divine appointments, they won't shy away from it. They'll recognize it. They'll know what it's about. They'll understand it. So, village, that's coming. I give you warning now. It's coming. Darlena is coming. It is on the way. It is on the way. Well, again, let me see. Alan, I think you have a flyer for us that if you would put that up, if you can put it up, that would be great, great, great. I have explained to all of you that on the 29th of April, I'm going to be doing a reading for His glory from my latest two books, and it is so. And the other one is Masters of the Mask. So if you have a pen and paper near you and you can write this information down, the address is there. But if you simply RSVP through 919-782-5405 by the 21st, and let me know that you are coming and who you are bringing with you. I'm asking anybody who's coming to bring a friend, bring somebody with you. It's not going to be a long afternoon, but it is going to give me an opportunity to share some of the readings from our 8 at 8 gathering that we have with the morning crew and the night shift. So please, if you have any questions, you know what to do. Send an email to speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com. That's speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com. And probably the first part of the week, I will be posting this again on social media. So if you have not gotten it through a text message or through your email, don't think that you are being overlooked or forgotten. It just means I may not have your information. So feel free to contact me so that you can reserve your space and come out and enjoy a nice afternoon with me. Thank you, Alan. Thank you so much. And that's it for us for tonight. Our time is up. We are ending on time tonight. It is exactly 7:45, and we try to do about 45 minutes. Miss Ida, again, thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for sharing. Really, really appreciate it. Zerlina, thank you for being on. And Miss Linda, thank you for coming in as well. And I know we had some other people join us, though they may not have commented. And I thank you as well. And I appreciate you and appreciate you being a listener or a viewer for When Life Speaks. Miss Francina, thank you. Thank you for being on with me this evening. And I know that we've got some great guests and some great topics coming up in the next couple of months. This is going to be a very interesting second quarter. God is doing some amazing things, and I got ears to hear, so we're going to see what else he is up to. But for tonight, that is it. I thank you again for being with me. I will be right back here next week. Be right back here at 7 p.m. We will do a replay at noon on Saturday. And look, we got Resurrection Sunday coming up.
Yes.
Hopefully, we all have a place to worship and to give God praise for his sacrifice and for his
Yes.
love. So keep that on your calendar, keep that on your heart, and come back next week and see what we've got going on. Just turn down the volume of life for a little bit and get ready to receive, so that when life speaks,
You speak life. Good
that's
night, everyone.
good
Thanks
night.
for joining.
Yes.
Night, night, Auntie.
Good night, Francina.